Hi everyone, in this tutorial I'm going to show how I painted this close-up of a cat in acrylics. Now to start with, I always like to begin with my backgrounds. I do this with any medium, but especially with acrylics I do find it helps simplify the process. I don't want to be blending the background or using my airbrush after the fur has been painted, as that can then be blended over those areas of detail. So my preferred preference is to work with the background. Once that's dry, then start on the subject. Now once the subject is finished, if I do feel I need to adjust the background, then I can do that. I actually show that on the goat tutorial that I uploaded a few weeks ago. If that is of interest, I'll link that in the description below. However, when starting the eye, I just want to block in my main lights and darks. If there is a bright highlight, I do want to get that mapped in, not because I can't add that later, because acrylics, we've got that option of being incredibly versatile with that layering process. But it does give me that initial focal point of where the main areas, those lights and darks, should be. This can actually drastically change the shape of the eye. If the highlight is a little bit too high up, then that is going to give the eye more of an oval shape. So this is something here that I do want to get accurate. Once I'm happy with that and I've got the outside shape of the eye mapped in as well, then I'm going to start with the iris. Now as I've been building up my layers here, you'll see that I have been working with quite a few of my subtle blending techniques, and this is where I am applying the paint with one brush and then blending it with the other. When working with this technique, it's important to make sure that your blending brush isn't too wet, otherwise that will act like an eraser. As I'm starting to get more softness here, this is where I'm also enhancing my values. You'll see that I don't just jump straight into my lightest colour, I have built this up into multiple stages. This is also a small painting, it's only 5 by 7 inches, and my goal for this in the real-time version of the tutorial was to focus on how to paint soft fur. There are many portions here that it does look almost a little bit out of focus, and the blending techniques that are required for that need to be more controlled. If the real-time step-by-step version of this lesson is of interest, I will also link that in the description below. But what I want to be doing here is getting the softness right before I consider my details. This is something that I do mention in all of my videos here on YouTube, and I do want to really capture that in order to get my depth established. It's not the details here that is going to make this look more realistic if my softness isn't right. I personally won't ever sacrifice the softness of my base foundation. I do like to add my details, but I have to make sure that I'm adding those at the right stage. Now when it came to working on the base foundation, this is where my mapping in of my lights and my darks, exactly as I did with the eye, is my main priority. I'm also starting to focus on my softness, but this very first layer, it's never going to be as soft as the additional second or third layer that I add to my base foundation. And for this stage, I typically like to use filbert brushes, and I do prefer to use small to medium sizes. I'm not that particular on the brands that I use. I actually buy most of my brushes just generic brands, and this just is a way that I can show it's not about having expensive brushes to push the amount of realism that you can capture, because you absolutely can achieve that with very cheap brush sets. There are a couple of different brushes that I do like to be a little bit more particular about, a rigger brush or a rake brush for example, but my rounds, my filberts, they aren't anything there that I find too specific. But I do like to work with synthetic, softer brushes. I don't like to have anything that's too rigid. So as I'm starting to now carry on with this and block in a little bit more of this larger area, you'll see here that the softness develops, but I am only focusing on 1 or 2 square inches at a time. I do typically like to work in small areas, and once my base foundation of that small section is done, then I will progress to my details or building in my texture. However, for this small study, I did work with one whole individual layer at a time because this was a smaller painting. I also wanted to show more of the key steps at the individual stages rather than switching between my base and my detailed brushes, because I wanted to target more of these sort of overall foundation techniques that we use, and I just find that that can be a little bit easier to practice without having to switch between your brushes too often. So once I had paint over the entire subject, then I can start to tidy that up even further. I don't want to have any harsh edges, but I do also want to make sure that I am refining the markings and really hinting at more contrast. At the moment, that very first layer, it is looking a little bit more transparent, showing some of that lighter background through. So this second layer now is going to help cover that. You can see that my layers look far darker, and this is a very big thing to consider with any animal, any subject that we're painting. If the base layer isn't dark enough, then all of the details that we add on top will also be too light. If the detailed brushes, the colour that we're using isn't showing up, it's very easy to then just mix more white in with that or a lighter colour to brighten it up. But usually that's not the issue. The lighter details aren't showing up because the base foundation is too light in most cases. So the very first question I ask myself, if that is an issue that I experience, is whether or not I need to darken my base first. The next phase here is where I'm starting to put in some fur texture. I'm not jumping into my brightest highlights yet. This is more about my mid-tone stage, and the mid-tones are going to help back up the softness. As I'm starting to build my layers here and enhancing that contrast, you'll notice that I haven't really worried about the colour of the fur. At the moment, in terms of the colour, this is all looking fairly standard. But when I'm working with adjustment of those colours, I always do that separately. Only because that just helps to simplify the process massively. One of the biggest issues that I speak to a lot of artists about is that worry of trying to mix the exact colour and the lightness or darkness of that colour when painting realism. However, if you're working with glazes, you really don't have to worry about that at all. At this stage, where I am putting in the initial indication of texture, I can then wait for this to dry and then work with a glaze to adjust my colour. I do have a video here on YouTube that's all about glazing. I show different examples of how I use glazes in my acrylic work. If that's of interest, I'll link that video in the description below. And as I've started to develop more of these layers here, I'm now switching over to more of a finer brush. This is a rigger brush or a liner brush, and I want to be making sure here that I'm not forcing those finer top details quite yet. I still have a little bit more that I want to add in before I get to those details. But as you can see, I'm still using a blending brush to soften my brush strokes. And again, that just makes sure here that my details aren't as crisp. I really like to maintain that softness right until that last stage. However, the blending techniques have shifted here. I don't want to have everything the same degree of blend that I had at my base foundation, because then I'm not actually going to progress to any kind of detail. But if my brush strokes do look a little bit too wiry, and I feel like that's making the fur look more coarse, then I will always back that up with some softness. Now, as I'm starting to work with this phase, this is where my paint might get a little bit lighter, but if I feel like I need to darken the areas in between or underneath, then I will switch between my light and my dark colours. If ever I'm working with my details and I feel like they're not showing up, like the issue I've mentioned not so long ago, I will always go back and darken the layers underneath. This is what is going to make a huge difference. Rather than worrying about the exact colours, it's always my values that are my priority. So with that bulk of the painting now done, without any worry about my colour, and I'm happy now with the values that I've got established, this is now where I can work with my glazes, and I am starting to tint that colour. So my first priority is I wanted to get a little bit more of this warmer brown colour in place. I still have more layers of detail that I want to include, but I now feel I need to adjust that colour before I do that. Another thing here that I like to use glazes for is to maximise that softness yet again. If there is a bit of a harsh area between a light and a dark, adding a glaze in between those two sections can add a lot of additional softness. This cat had a bit more of an overall colour. There wasn't too much variation here. So one thing that I did a lot of is adding a bit of the glaze, waiting for that to dry, and then going back in with that same colour. The glazes, they don't have to be different colours. If you're trying to get that colour more intense but you're happy with that, then you can just build those glazes up in more individual layers. But you do have to make sure that the glaze underneath is dry before you go back in over the top. One other thing here that's really important to remember, depending on the brand of acrylic paint that you're using, they might dry with a matte finish. So when I was adding that glaze, that wet paint, you'll notice that the colour saturation was a lot more vibrant, the darks looked darker, the highlights looked brighter, and that's because the paint was wet. Once the gloss varnish, which is my preference, is added over the top when the painting is finished, that makes the paint go back to how it looked when it was wet. So at the moment here, it looks like the paints have almost faded. They haven't. That isn't a thing here, but it's just because the paints have dried. So by making sure that I am using the gloss varnish, I can just bring all of this back to how it did when it was wet. And that is my preference. You've got different options for varnishing, but the glossier finish is the one that I do like to go with. One of my very favourite parts of any painting to add is the whiskers, but I do have to make sure that the fur underneath is completely dry before I add them. Only because if they're added too soon, we have to work around them and that's far more time consuming. When painting the whiskers, I do like to use my rigger or liner brush, and I'm using in this case titanium white that I have thinned down with water. If the whiskers aren't actually that bright, then I can just use more of a grey. Sometimes the whiskers are black. You need to vary that mix depending on the animal you're working on. But I do like to have more of that water in the mix because it makes this brush easier to use. If you're using a liner or a rigger brush and you're getting start and stop points, that's usually because the mixture is too thick and you need to have more fluid in that in order to make it flow off that brush easier. I do actually have quite a few videos here on YouTube where I'm focusing more on how to paint these longer lines. If they're of interest, then as I say, I've got lots available here to watch. So when I'm working with this, it's about keeping a nice consistent movement and light pressure. Heavy pressure is going to create a thicker line. And I've also then had to come back over some of the whiskers to lighten them. It's always worth, for this specific technique where you are going over the same line, to do that on some watercolour paper or a spare bit of canvas, because you can practice that without that pressure of trying to get that right first time on your painting. So I do hope this video has been useful. If it was, I'd be very grateful if you could give it a like and a thumbs up. It makes a huge difference to my channel. I also upload a couple of videos to YouTube every week, so if you would like to get notified of that content, then don't forget to hit the subscribe and the bell button. If you would like to paint along to the real-time version of this tutorial, I'll link all of the information to that in the description below. If you've got any art-related questions, feel free to pop them in the comments. I'm always happy to help if I can. And I will be uploading another video next week. But as always, thank you so much for watching.